We live in interesting times. For the headlines. Prince Charles, the eldest son and heir to Queen Elizabeth, has tested positive for coronavirus, but he's showing mild symptoms and otherwise remains in good health. India's billion-plus population goes into a 3-week lockdown, with a third of the world now under orders to stay indoors. And our EBC bureaus in London, Italy, the United States, Switzerland, American Samoa, and many more will be joining us live to update us on the coronavirus situation in their countries. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. And now to the news. First, India's billion-plus population went into a 3-week lockdown, with a third of the world now under orders to stay indoors. India ordered its 1.3 billion people, the world's second biggest population, to stay at home for 3 weeks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's total lockdown call doubled the number of people around the globe under some form of movement restriction to more than 2.6 billion people. In the capital, New Delhi, some buses still operated, with drivers only allowing the holders of government passes to board. But police and paramilitaries were stopping private vehicles. Under the order announced by Prime Minister Modi, people could face up to 2 years in jail and an unspecified financial penalty if they flout the rules. However, China, where the new virus emerged last year, has already loosened tough rules on the 50 million people in Hubei province on Wednesday after a months-long lockdown, as the country reported no new domestic cases. The provincial capital, Wuhan, the ground zero of the outbreak after it was initially detected at a market that sold wild animals for human consumption, will now allow residents to leave from April 8. But there were another 47 imported infections from overseas. That is according to the National Health Commission, as the number of cases brought into the country continued to swell. In total, 474 imported infections have been diagnosed in China, mostly Chinese nationals returning home, according to the Foreign Ministry. 4 more people died, health officials said, 3 in central Hubei province, where the virus first emerged late last year. And Spain just overtook China's virus toll with 3,434 deaths. The spiraling number of deaths came as Spain entered the 11th day of an unprecedented lockdown to try and rein in the epidemic that has now infected 47,610 people. That is according to the Health Ministry. The coronavirus epidemic has hit particularly hard in this normally bustling city of 6.5 million, where ambulances now sweep through its wide streets and boulevards without even sounding their sirens as they rush ever more people to hospital. Inside the city's vast IFEMA exhibition hall, the army has rapidly set up the biggest hospital in Spain, a field hospital with an intensive care unit which may eventually accommodate up to 5,500 patients, and where ambulances can also be seen going in and out. Now, just 2 kilometers, less than a mile down the road, red trucks carrying soldiers in protective suits are going into the Palacio de Hielo, or Ice Palace shopping center, whose ice skating rink is now being used to store dead bodies, because the city's morgues are already overwhelmed. Under the lockdown, Spain's 46 million population has been ordered to stay home, with people only allowed out to buy food or medicine, to walk the dog, or in limited cases, to go to work. And just now, U.S. President Donald Trump said the coronavirus will kill fewer people than massive recession or depression. He was speaking during a Fox News town hall event at the White House. Take a listen.
We have to put the country to work. Look, you're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. You're going to lose people. You're going to have suicides by the thousands. You're going to have all sorts of things happen. You're going to have instability. You can't just come in and say, let's close up the United States of America, the biggest, the most successful country in the world by far.
And the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, the eldest son and heir to Queen Elizabeth II, is showing mild symptoms of the new coronavirus, but otherwise remains in good health. Joining us live right now with that report is Graham Thomas, our EBC correspondent in the United Kingdom. Graham.
Hi, Alma. We live in interesting times. I'm Graham Thomas, EBC correspondent in London, United Kingdom, with the latest update on COVID-19 pandemic here in the UK. Our breaking news today: the Prince of Wales, aged 71, has tested positive for coronavirus and is displaying mild symptoms, but otherwise remains in good health, Clarence House has said. A Clarence House spokesman said the Duchess of Cornwall, aged 72, has also been tested, but did not have the virus. In accordance with government and medical advice, the Prince and the Duchess are now self-isolating at home in Scotland. The tests were carried out by the NHS in Aberdeenshire, where they met the criteria required for testing. It's not possible to ascertain from whom the Prince caught the virus, owing to the high number of engagements he carried out in his public role during the recent weeks. But Charles's last public engagement was on March the 12th, but he did have a number of private meetings with Highgrove and Duchy individuals, all of whom have been made aware, and Prince Albert of Monaco, who tested positive earlier this month, was in the same room as Charles at a water aid event in London on March the 10th. A small number of people living and working at Birkhall are remaining at the residence and are now self-isolating. A source told us that Charles had not seen the Queen since the morning of the 12th of March, and the Queen remains in good health, but with his doctor's most conservative estimate being that the Prince was contagious by March 13, this is obviously a concern for the royal household. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh remain in isolation at the royal residence in Windsor Castle. According to the latest Department of Health and Social Care figures, there are now more than 8,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the United Kingdom, although the actual number of cases is likely to be far higher, and some 422 of those patients have died. It is indeed a historic day for Britain as the United Kingdom enters the second full day of lockdown, with new measures in place and fines for anyone who breaks them. Britain ordered a 3-week lockdown on Monday in a bid to slow the spread of the coronavirus, as World Health officials warned that the pandemic was accelerating around the globe. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the country was facing a moment of national emergency and that staying at home was necessary to protect the NHS, save lives, and tackle the biggest threat this country has faced for decades. This comes after the UK death toll from the coronavirus yesterday hit 335 after 46 new deaths in the last 24 hours in England were announced by the NHS. Now only food stores, corner shops, hardware stores, chemists, petrol stations and newsagents are allowed to remain open during the lockdown. The new measures came amid fears people were ignoring the government's social distancing advice. At the weekend, crowds of people were at the beaches, parks, markets, and other places. The new guidance says people should only leave their homes to do the following things: shopping for basic necessities such as food and medicine. Shopping trips should be as least as possible. One form of exercise a day, such as a run or a walk or a cycle, but this should be done alone or only with people that we live with. Any medical need or to provide care or help to a vulnerable person. This includes transporting children under the age of 18 between their parents' homes where applicable. And key workers or those with children classed as vulnerable can still take their children to school, traveling to and from work, but only where work absolutely cannot be done at home. Even with this guidance, people should limit the amount of time spent out of their homes and should keep 2 meters or 6 feet away from people that they do not live with. Meanwhile, all non-essential businesses were ordered to cease trading at midnight. The restrictions would be reviewed on an ongoing basis, and it will consider relaxing the rules in 3 weeks' time, Boris Johnson said. The Prime Minister said that if too many people become seriously unwell at one time, the National Health Service or NHS will be unable to handle it, meaning more people are likely to die, not just from coronavirus, but from other illnesses as well. The government is also putting a stop to all social events, including weddings, baptisms, and other ceremonies. But funerals attended by immediate family are still allowed. Police and local authorities will be authorized to disperse gatherings, including through the use of fines. So we will endeavor to keep you up to date with any changes to our condition here in the United Kingdom.
This is your fourth day of lockdown, as you said.
We started our lockdown on Monday night, so this is our second day, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Second day, okay. So how has it been since, I know it's a second day, but how has it been?
I wish that people would take more sense and ability to lock down, which is what we're being told by the government. There are still many people that are going out and ignoring the advice that's being given by the government. But we're hoping that in the next few days, as people really start to realize what the government are trying to do, that they will become more sensible and lock down.
Have there been any weaknesses identified in the implementation of the lockdown guidelines or quarantine guidelines?
I think sometimes people have said that it's not been direct enough, that people are a bit unsure as to what is meant as necessity in this country. So the government really needs to get that message across to the people as to what is frontline staff, what are people who are essential to continue to work and to continue to leave our homes.
And what about your health workers? How is the government taking care of your frontliners over there?
Well, the stocks are starting to come through now for personal protective equipment, both in the NHS and in social care. And the reports that we're getting from the NHS is that the Army are delivering those continuously, that we are getting deliveries and supplies into the United Kingdom. So I'm hoping that our NHS colleagues are being able to be protected and use them now.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much, Graham, for all that information. Thank you for joining us.
London, thank you. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I'm Graham Thomas, and we live in interesting times.
More than 404,020 declared cases have been registered in 175 countries and territories, and Italy has suffered the most deaths with 6,820 out of 69,176 declared infections. Let us verify that report from Jeremiah San Vicente Abad, reporting and joining us live now from Italy. Mia?
Yes, hi Alma, good evening there in the Philippines. So it's day 15 of lockdown here in Italy, and as per health monitoring activities related to the spread of coronavirus across national territory, at present 54,030 people are currently positive. To date, the total number of assessed cases in Italy is 69,176. 8,326 patients have recovered, and 6,820 have died. Approved yesterday by the Council of Ministers, a new anti-coronavirus decree which incorporates and tightens all the prohibitions and sanctions established so far to address the emergency. So up to 5 years in prison for those who violate the quarantine if tested positive, and up to 3,000 euros fine. Previously it was 206 euros. So now it's up to 3,000 euros fine for those who do not respect the other rules. The national state of emergency is until July 31, but the restrictive measures could be lifted even earlier, explains Prime Minister Conte. Meanwhile, the number of the new positives in Italy is decreasing for the third consecutive day, so it's good news. And the number of deaths in the last 24 hours was 743. Crucial topic here right now is that gas stations have declared they are closing starting tonight, March 25. The gas unions announced this in a note. The stop of petrol stations is linked to the coronavirus emergency, and they said, quote, "We on our own are no longer in a position to ensure either the necessary level of health security or the economic sustainability of the service. And as a result, the fuel filling stations will simply start to close. From Wednesday night, those of the highway network, including junctions and bypasses, and gradually all the others also along the ordinary road network," unquote. The Minister of Economic Development, Stefano Patuanelli, has called a conference call with the presidents of the fuel distributors trade associations, and actually the conference is now ongoing. And also yesterday, the Prime Minister's appeal excuse me, the Prime Minister's appeal was, "I invite everyone to postpone on the announced progressive stop to gasoline plants because, of course, it is an essential service. And we will find a solution with Minister De Micheli, but we cannot allow this public service to be interrupted." This was said last night by the Prime Minister Conte in an interview with TG5. And on the results of the guidelines imposed by the government, Civil Protection Department's head Borrelli said the restrictive measures from 2 weeks ago are starting to be felt. And faced with the data on contagion slowing down for 2 consecutive days, Borrelli remains cautious. The measures of 2 weeks ago are starting to show, and in the next few hours we should see other effects, and we will understand if the growth curve is actually really flattening. And Ranieri Guerra, Deputy Director of the World Health Organization, believes that the peak of the contagion could be reached this week. And the next few days will be decisive because this will be the times when the government measures of 15 to 20 days ago should take effect. And on a positive note, another Russian plane has landed in Italy to help counter the serious consequences of the coronavirus pandemic. The 15th military transport aircraft from Russia, of the Russian aerospace forces, carrying equipment for diagnosis and disinfection, has delivered special means to fight the coronavirus at the Italian air base in Pratica di Mare, the Russian Ministry of Defense told Interfax. So right now, Italy needs 100 million masks every month. It needs thousands of lung ventilators. And just last week, after working with embassies and consulates around the world, Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio said that we signed a contract with 100 million masks that will start coming in at the end of this week. And over the last week, Italy has been receiving help from around the globe. 53 doctors sent from Cuba, and they have landed in Milan. And they are virologists and immunologists who will help colleagues at the hospital in Crema, one of the municipalities most affected by the coronavirus. They are currently in the field hospital created by the men of the 3rd Health Department in Belindago, Novarese, in collaboration with the Civil Defense. And Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio announced on Facebook that in the next few days, about 10 million masks will arrive in our country, sent from Egypt, China, India, Russia, Brazil, and the European Union. And as the Foreign Minister also explains, there will be a first batch of 6 million and then 20 million masks every week.
So, Mia, how obedient has the Italians been, or has the Italians been with these new restrictive measures that the government has released?
Well, reports, actually 4 days ago, there has been a report that more than 220,000 people have been checked. And of those 220,000 people, almost 10,000 have been reported for violating the rules. And 260 of those were for declaring false. So, for example, a person goes out and is checked, and on the form he says that he's going to work to this employer, and the police will what the police will do is check if he is actually going to that employer. So they're calling that employer, and if they verify that he's not actually going to work, then that's the case where he will be given a fine. So before it was 206 euros, now it's from 400 to 3,000 euros.
All right. I hope they follow the guidelines set by the government and be obedient to the authorities. Thank you so much, and take care, Mia.
For more updates, this is Jeromia San Vicente Abad from Rome, Italy. We live in interesting times.
Okay, let's go over to Geneva, Switzerland, and find out what is the latest coronavirus situation over there. We have joining us live, Christine Benedicto. Christine?
Hi, Alma and televiewers. In Switzerland, the latest report of the federal authorities yesterday states more than 8,800 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country and at least 86 deaths due to the virus. The government hopes to see a flattening of the curve in at least a week's time, but then urges the population to really observe the rule, which is to stay at home in order to meet this objective, because that's really the main objective. Stay at home in order to not get infected and in order to not spread the virus. And police has also started to give 100 Swiss francs fines to people who do not respect the maximum of 5 people gathering restriction and the 2 meter social distance regulation. Only places that provide essential products and services are left open. So one of the challenges lately is ordering groceries online, because there's an actual queue online when you try to do it, and home delivery times are often fully booked. For parents, they need to juggle between working from home, because more and more people do work from home, and doing household chores and taking care of their children, accompanying their children, helping them with their schoolwork. So that's a lot of things to do for parents right now. In Geneva, particularly, the university hospital has been designated as the one that will take all COVID-19 patients. The hospital is working closely with private clinics, because private clinics will then take any COVID-19 patients once the capacity of the university hospital reaches its maximum. Other measures in the city include the prohibition to accept visitors at hospitals and care homes, and simplified administrative procedures so as to facilitate, for example, application for unemployment benefits and extended deadlines to file tax returns. As a sign of solidarity, on a good note, towards healthcare workers, hospital staff, and emergency staff as well, every 9 p.m. in Geneva, people open their windows and go on their balconies for a minute or two of clapping of hands. So this is a tribute really to all frontliners. And to stay connected and entertained during these times, last weekend, people were encouraged in different neighborhoods in Geneva to play some music on Friday evening from one's windows or balconies. So we got to listen to a neighbor's free concert from our windows last Friday, which was quite entertaining. And with my friends, we do online coffee breaks, for example. So we do a group video chat, video call while having coffee. Just basically anything to just somehow, stay connected and still follow the rule of staying at home. So that's the update from Switzerland.
Christine, in the United Kingdom and the United States, there have been occasions when people refuse to heed the calls of the government for self-quarantines. Have there been similar incidents there?
Well, in Switzerland, we don't have to give a paper in order to justify the need for us to go out. But the message is really to stay at home and only go out for really the essentials, basically to go to work, or because work from home is not possible, or to buy help a loved one, or for example, an elderly loved one to do groceries for them, for example. But then the fines that were given to people most recently mainly concerned those who do not abide with the maximum 5 people gathering outside. So that's mainly young people, especially during springtime. When the sun is out, people were by the lake still last weekend. So police did start giving fines starting last week.
All right. Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you for joining us and all those updates. Do take care.
Thank you very much. I'm Christine Benedicto, EBC correspondent from Geneva, Switzerland. We live in interesting times.
All right. Let's now head on over to Las Vegas. Joining us live is Anna Cui. Anna?
District, there are 249 total reported cases of COVID-19, which is about 100 more cases than our last numbers reported. And sadly, we also have 2 additional deaths, bringing our total number to 6. I do want to point out, Alma, that out of that 249, about 50% of them fall into the 18 years old to 49 years old age group, while those who are 65 years old and above account for about 22%. So at least for Las Vegas, we can validate the misconception that only those who are 65 years old and above can contract the disease. Our seniors are showing that lower number right now because they're the ones who are staying home more. One of the measures put in place to protect them is that the stores are reserving time for them to do their grocery shopping, usually the first 2 hours of business. And also doctors are advising them to cancel their routine appointments for now. Some updates from our local government. Governor Sisolak held a press conference yesterday where he announced an emergency directive prohibiting gatherings of 10 or more people in any indoor or outdoor area. So that's been extended. He issued that directive last week, but now it's been extended to public places as well, such as our parks, our playgrounds, basketball or volleyball courts outdoors. He just really wants to be proactive and continually encouraging Nevadans to stay home to mitigate the community spread of COVID-19. But to be clear, he did say this doesn't include people who live in the same household or people working together for essential businesses. In addition to that, he also signed an emergency regulation limiting the issuance of prescription for chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine to prevent people from hoarding them. He said there is no conclusive evidence that those drugs can treat COVID-19 at this time. So he wants to make sure that they are available for those who really need it for its current medical use. In regards to, as a follow-up to the directive that he gave last week for all non-essential businesses to shut down for 30 days, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, specifically the Special Investigation Section, has been conducting compliance checks by randomly going to non-essential businesses. They also urge the public to report any of them that are out of compliance by calling 311. And we can really see this mandated shutdown being followed at the Las Vegas Strip. We drove down Las Vegas Boulevard the other night, and the sidewalks that are usually filled with thousands of people are completely empty. And some of the properties even have their lights out. And I probably saw about 10 people walking around, and there were police cars parked with their siren lights on at several intersections. Now, about the food, restaurants, food-related businesses in the smaller communities, they do remain open, but mostly serving out of drive-through or offering curbside pickup. About the schools, there's a good chance that they will not return to finish the school year. Governor Sisolak announced 2 days ago that 16 out of 17 school districts in Nevada have submitted plans to Nevada Department of Education to continue with distance learning. And it's really important for those submission of those plans because that will ensure continued funding for the schools. As far as our international airport, there was a flight controller who tested positive for COVID-19, prompting the closure of one of their air traffic control towers last week, which resulted in hundreds of flights being canceled. So as of yesterday, I still see a lot of cars on the road, people at the park, riding their bikes, running or walking. But I have observed that people do keep their social distancing, especially at the grocery stores. And for the most part, people seem to be more friendly, asking each other how they're doing, smiling at each other. And that's the way it should be. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Anna, before I let you go, I just wanted to, I want to ask, have there been, in South Korea, there has been widespread testing, if not what measures are being undertaken to clip the spread of the virus? Has there been widespread testing also in the United States now? I know
in the United States, well,
yeah.
in Las Vegas, I was speaking to one of the medical directors of one of the medical group here, and that is one of the challenges that they're having is that the lack of the testing kits that are being sent. Although as of beginning of this week, we hear of more places that are testing. They're doing drive-by testing. UNLV is actually offering out. Also, they place a tent outside where they do testing. So I believe overall we could still use a lot of testing kits.
What are the latest findings by the doctors or researchers or scientists in your country?
In regards to trials, drug trials, they talked about the hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine that might be effective. Actually, in addition to that, I also read about the Z-Pak, which is the azithromycin. It's an antibiotics that they are doing trials in New York. Actually, I heard that they started doing that. So hopefully it will be effective in treating this COVID-19.
All right. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for your time, and do take care over there.
Thank you, Alma.
All right. Eagle News, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng corona. Bahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
All right, joining us now from Australia, Perth, Australia, to tell us about the coronavirus situation over there is our EBC correspondent, Sharmi Tibayan. Sharmi.
Hi, good evening, Alma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We are bringing you the latest updates on the COVID-19 here in Australia. So the total confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Australia is 2,252 confirmed cases, with New South Wales having the highest at 1,029 cases, then followed by Victoria at 411. Here in WA, we've got 175 confirmed cases. So WA border has been closed as of 1:30 p.m. since Monday. Anyone arriving in WA will be required to self-isolate for 14 days, but travel is highly discouraged. Schools here in WA are still open, and Prime Minister announced more shutdown. Shopping centers will remain open, but retail premises will be limited to businesses. And restaurants are being closed for dining in. However, if you're hungry and craving for something, takeaway will be allowed still. Here in WA, we can still go outside, but social distancing has been enhanced. Stay at home unless for groceries. Exercise, but not at the gym. And also, government has also strongly recommended people to work from home. And also, it's a good thing because supermarket introduces dedicated shopping hour for health workers as well as elderly and people with disability. And also the government here in Australia is really good. They will help those people who just recently lost their job. Most of them are really in hospitality.
Okay, so how is the local population coping with the new guidelines set by your government?
We can see it's all about humanity. We can see in every country, people are really helping each other in this very tough situation. Really spreading kindness, especially to those people who are in need of it.
You just had the bushfire crisis there, right? How would you say?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, how would you compare this to the other emergencies that your country has already experienced? How would you compare this to the bushfire crisis?
It's really challenging. It's really a very tough times for Australians. But people here in Australia, I can see that they're very strong in their minds and spirit, and it's really important.
Grocery supplies, do you have enough?
We do. Well, some of them are still panic buying. I went to the grocery last time, and they don't have enough, like pastas and all that stuff. Well, toilet paper as well. It's out of stock here in Australia.
Oh, curfews.
We don't have really curfew. Good. It's not really lockdown. It's just a partial lockdown. We've got like 2 stages of lockdown here in Australia. We can still go outside, but really social distancing should be more enhanced.
With all this happening around the world, what can you say? What can you take away from all this?
Well, as a mom, actually, I'm staying at home with my kids. We decided to keep our kids at home to feel, to really, to make them safe. And I feel lucky to have them with me as a precious time. They know what's going on, but then we teach them how to put extra care. And as a parent, it's really important to have this kind of positivity. You need to keep your sanity as well and your faith.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us and for taking time out to give us all this information.
That is for now in Australia. This is Charmy Care from Perth, Western Australia. We live in interesting times.
Another 5 coronavirus patients have recovered in Moscow, bringing the total number to 14. Okay, we'll find out if this is true from Emmy Coloma, our EBC Russia Bureau. Emmy. Hello, Emmy. Kumusta na kayo dyan? Hello, Emmy. Kumusta na?
Okay.
Yes. How is it in Russia?
As of now, it's normal pa rin, Ate Alma.
Okay.
Yeah, in the city, it's normal, but it's less the vehicles and less traffic, less people. But still playing outside some of the kids, and then some of the people here is still working at home, and then some is working in the office. But the good news is there's a news today, according to TASS News Agency, another patient recovered from coronavirus.
Okay. So, ano ba ang ginagawa ng government natin dyan? What measures are they undertaking para hindi kumalat ng coronavirus dyan sa Russia? Bihira kami makabalita ng kung ano ang sitwasyon dyan sa Russia regarding the coronavirus situation. Pwede mo kaming update?
Sa ating pong embassy rito, sa Philippine Embassy, nagbibigay po sila ng mga preventive measure po, yung mga advice para maging safe po ang bawat isa, at less din po yung kanilang mga cultural events. And then nagbigay rin po sila today po meron po silang ang gobyerno po ng Russia ay nagbigay po ng extra seat para po sa mga kababayan natin na stranded po dito na nais na pong umuwi sa atin. So, ngayon po sila ay pauwi na po sa atin sa Pilipinas.
So pinayagan sila makauwi. Okay.
Yung pong Russian plane po na yon ang susundo po doon sa mga kanilang mga mamamayan po sa Cebu. Pabalik po dito. Kasama po yung ilang kababayan po natin na stranded po rito papunta po sa Pilipinas.
So uuwi na sila sa Cebu, yun ba? Tama ba yung pagkaintindi ko? Medyo mahina dito. Yes.
Yung pong Russian plane po na yon ay susundo po sa mga Russian na nasa Cebu po.
Okay. Okay. So stranded sila doon, may babalik na sila dyan.
Opo. Ngayon po yung mga kababayan po natin naman na gusto pong umuwi na na-stranded po dito ay maaari po silang isabay po doon sa plane po nila. Pabalik po sa Pilipinas.
Pabalik naman ng Pilipinas. Oh, very good. Very good news. So, paano, kumusta naman yung mga kababayan natin dyan? Hindi ba masyadong nahihigpitan? Hindi ba mahigpit masyado ang measures ng Russia para sa coronavirus guidelines nila?
Po, yung katulad po namin, yung mga in-advise na po kaming mag-stay sa bahay, meron naman po mga employer na nagpapapasok pa rin po sa kanilang mga employee. So hindi pa po siya ganun ka-strict dito sa Moscow. So pero naka-monitor po kami sa updates. At ngayon pong araw na to magkakaroon po ng State of the Nation po si President Vladimir Putin. Okay. According po din sa news, para po sa coronavirus update po.
Okay. So mag-iingat kayo dyan, Emmy, at balitaan mo kami kung anong sasabihin ni President Putin. I'm sure lahat kami interesado dyan.
Opo.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Emmy Coloma.
Ingat po. Reporting from Moscow, Russia, this is Emmy Coloma. We live in interesting times. Thank you po.
Ingat. Ingat po. All right, Samoa reported that 6 test results for COVID-19 had come back negative. 7 further samples have been sent to New Zealand for lab testing, and results are pending for these cases. And we have an update from our American Samoa Bureau. Here is Arian Torres. Arian?
Hi, Alma. Good evening there in the Philippines, and talofa, and good morning here in American Samoa. Kamusta po dyan?
Eto, mabuti naman. Sa inyo, kumusta naman po?
As always, I have a good news for everyone that American Samoa is still COVID-free. And I have a developing story regarding that. For the first swab sample has been sent to CDC headquarters in Atlanta. The Department of Health has sent off-island for testing a swab from a woman who is being quarantined at home. The woman, a local resident, had traveled to New Zealand and spent 14 days in quarantine in Samoa before arriving here on March 14. Dr. Ifili Jantufa, Department of Health epidemiologist, said 2 days before she traveled to American Samoa, she developed a cough and a slight fever, which was not noticeable. The swab left on Thursday flight, and upon arrival in Honolulu, it was repacked and sent to Atlanta. Dr. Ifili says the test results should be known in 3 to 7 days after it arrives at CDC headquarters, and another 2 swabs are to be sent on this Thursday flight. And because we are now on Code Blue and still on effect, store, including restaurant and fast food chains, strictly follow social distancing, and they operate 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. only. One of the fast food chain put up a banner informing Code Blue and is closed for dine-in but open for drive-through, take-out only service. One of the local restaurants posted a temporarily closed notice, and even a travel agency is closed. And earlier this afternoon, I had a chance to interview a student from one of the private schools here in American Samoa. Let's listen in.
We lost our connection. Okay, there you go. I think we're having a technical problem again,
Yes.
Arian. But
Yes.
anyways, good news is always good news. So that is always good. Maraming
Yes.
salamat sa iyo, Arian, for all that update. And be well, keep safe. Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us.
Thank you, Alma. And this is Arian Torres, Eagle News. We live in interesting time.
Thank you, Arian. All right. All right, we have a Q&A from we have more information coming in from the World Health Organization, some information. Here's a Q&A from World Health Organization. Let's learn from this and watch. Oh, okay. All right, so that's it? Okay. So we are having technical difficulties, as they say. So that's the news for tonight. Join us again online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here, I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.